If you're over 65 and living on Social Security, mark this down. There is now a date on the calendar when your check gets cut by roughly a quarter. Not a rumor, not a maybe, a date. The people who run the numbers just moved it closer, and it lands in the year 2032. That's not decades away. That's the check some of you will still be depending on. And here's what bothers me most. Nobody at that agency is going to call you, sit you down, and warn you it's coming. So stay with me, because by the end I'll show you the one move that protects you from the worst of it. And it's not the move most people are about to make. Let me say the number out loud because it matters. 23%. That's about how much of your benefit is on the line if Washington keeps doing what it's been doing, which is nothing. And I want to be straight with you from the first minute. This isn't a scam email. This isn't some guy selling gold coins. This is coming straight out of the government's own report, written by the government's own trustees, the people whose whole job is to watch this fund. Here's the part they say quietly. The account your retirement checks are paid from has a name. It's the Old Age and Survivors Trust Fund. Think of it like a savings jar the country's been filling for decades. Every payday, money went in. For a long time, more went in than came out, so the jar got fat. But now more is coming out than going in, because there are a lot of you retiring and fewer workers behind you paying in. So the jar is draining. And the trustees now say it runs dry in the last few months of 2032. Now, a lot of folks hear runs dry and panic that the checks stop cold. They don't. Let me kill that fear right now. Even after the jar is empty, money is still coming in every single day from workers' paychecks. That money keeps flowing. But it's not enough to cover every dollar that was promised. It only covers about 78% of it. So the checks don't vanish, they shrink. By about 22 to 23 cents on every dollar, all at once. On the day the jar hits empty, and I don't want you doing math in your head, so let me do it for you. Find your number. If your monthly check is around $1,500, a 23% cut is about $345 a month. Gone. That's over $4,000 a year, off the top, from a check that was already tight. If you're getting around $2,000 a month, you're looking at roughly $460 gone every single month. More than $5,000 a year. And if you're one of the higher earners pulling around $2,500 a month, the cut is close to $575 every month. Say that out loud. Almost $600 disappearing from a fixed income with no warning letter and no vote. That's the piece that genuinely bothers me. This wouldn't be a bill Congress passes. Nobody has to sign anything for this to happen. It's automatic. The law says you can only pay out what's coming in once the reserve is gone. So if the folks in Washington sit on their hands right up to 2032, the cut just happens. On its own. The system doing exactly what the law tells it to do. So why 2032? Why that year and not some far-off date your grandkids worry about? Two things. First, the wave. The biggest generation in American history is retiring right now, all at once, and each of them is owed a check. Second, the ratio. Back in your parents' day, you had a big crowd of workers behind every retiree. Today, that crowd is a lot thinner. Fewer people paying in, more people drawing out. That's the whole story. It's not fraud, it's not waste, it's arithmetic. And arithmetic doesn't miss deadlines. Here's the newest twist, and it's the reason I'm making this today. The latest report actually moved the date earlier than last year. It used to sit a little further out. Now the trustees have pulled it in, to the tail end of 2032. The problem isn't getting better while everyone looks away. It's getting closer. Let that sink in. A year ago, the warning was softer. This year, the same people, looking at the same fund, said it out loud. Sooner. And I want to head off the thing some of you are already thinking. They've been saying the sky is falling on Social Security my whole life, and my check always showed up. You're right, it always did. But hear the difference. For most of those years, the trustees were talking about a shortfall way out on the horizon, decades off, plenty of runway. This is not that. This is a specific fund, with a specific date, that they just moved closer, for a generation that is retiring right now. Someday, maybe, has quietly turned into this decade on the books. That's the shift nobody's pointing at. Real quick, before I go on, I want a gut check from you. Right now, do you personally think Congress is going to fix this before that date? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. I've got my own guess, and I'll tell you at the end whether I think you're right to trust them. Hold that thought. Now let me tell you who should be paying the closest attention, because this doesn't hit everyone the same. If you're 85 today, honestly, this is less about you and more about the people you love. But if you're in your 60s or early 70s right now, listen close. You are going to be sitting right in the middle of this. You'll still be collecting in the early 2030s, still counting on that exact check, and you'll be the one standing there when the cut lands. The younger side of retirement is the most exposed. Not the furthest from it, the closest to it. And here's what makes it worse for a certain group. If Social Security is most of your income, or all of it, a 23% cut isn't an inconvenience. It's the difference between covering the rent and not. For a couple where both checks take the hit at the same time, you're not losing one slice, you're losing a slice off both plates, in the same month. That's the household that needs a plan the most. Think about who that really is. For a huge share of older Americans, Social Security isn't the extra on top of a pension and a fat savings account. It is the plan. It's the whole floor they're standing on. Cut the floor by a quarter, and there's nothing underneath to catch them. A wealthy retiree who loses a few hundred a month grumbles and moves on. The widow living check to check in a paid-off house she can barely keep the taxes on? That few hundred is her margin. It's the same percentage on paper, but it is not the same pain. And the cruel part is, the ones who can least afford it are the ones who lean on that check the most. Now, I don't want you walking away thinking this is hopeless, because it isn't, and I refuse to leave you scared without a way out. So let me be clear about something the doom and gloom crowd skips right past. This fund has been in trouble before. Back in the early 1980s, it was weeks from a shortfall. Weeks, not years. And Washington, both parties, sat down and fixed it. They tweaked the numbers and the checks kept coming. So this is not some brand new unsolvable riddle. It's a known problem with known fixes on the shelf, which means the date is real, but so is the off-ramp. That matters for what you do next. So let's talk about what you actually do, because I'm not here to scare you and leave you sitting there. I'm here to arm you. First move, and write this down. Do not panic claim early just because you heard this. This is the trap I see people falling into the second they get scared. They think, I'd better grab my benefit at 62 before they cut it. Slow down. When you claim at 62, you lock in a smaller check for the rest of your life. Right now, guaranteed, on purpose. You'd be giving yourself a permanent cut today to dodge a possible cut later. That's trading a sure loss for a maybe. For a lot of people, waiting even a year or two means a bigger base check, and a bigger base check protects you better if a percentage cut ever does land. Don't let fear make the one decision you can't undo. Second move, build yourself a buffer, and start now, even if it's small. If you knew a bill for a few $100s a month was possibly coming in a few years, you'd start setting aside a little today, right? Same idea. Even $50 or $100 a month tucked away builds a cushion that softens the blow if it comes. And if Washington fixes this and the cut never lands, well, now you've just got extra savings. There is no version of this where preparing hurts you. Third move, and this is the one almost nobody makes. Actually contact the people who represent you. I know. You feel like one voice doesn't matter, but here's the truth nobody says out loud. This cut is 100% avoidable. Congress has fixed this fund before, more than once, and they can fix it again. The only reason it's still hanging over your head is that it hasn't been made politically painful enough to force them to act. Your call, your letter, your voice at the town hall, added to millions of others, is exactly the pressure that gets it done. You've got a phone. Use it. Ask them one question, by name. What is your plan to stop the 23% cut before 2032? Make them answer. And now the answer I promised you earlier on whether Congress fixes this in time. Here's my honest take. They probably will, eventually. Because letting a quarter of every senior's check vanish is political suicide and they know it. But eventually, and in time to spare you a scare, are two different things. History says they wait until the last possible minute, right up against the wall, and then patch it in a panic. That's the pattern, every time. So if you told me yes in the comments, I think you're mostly right, but I wouldn't bet my grocery money on their timing. And your retirement is not a coin flip you want to leave to a Congress that's proven it likes to procrastinate. Hope they fix it. Plan like they won't. That's not being negative. That's being a grown-up about your own money. I want to pull this all the way back to real life for a second. Picture the difference $300, $400, $500 a month makes to somebody living on a fixed income. That's the grocery budget. That's the copay. That's whether the heat stays on comfortably in January or you're rationing it. We're not talking about numbers on a government spreadsheet. We're talking about the actual gap between okay and not okay for millions of older Americans. And it has a date on it now. So let me bring it home. Here's everything. Quick. There is a real, dated cut to Social Security coming in 2032 if nothing changes, and it's roughly 23%. It happens automatically, no vote required, because the fund the checks come from is draining, and the law only lets it pay out what comes in. It hits the people currently in their 60s and 70s the hardest, especially anyone who leans on that check for most of their income. And you've got 3 real moves. Don't panic claim early out of fear. Start building even a small buffer now. And pick up the phone and put the pressure on the people who can actually stop it. Here's the one that matters most, and I saved it for the end on purpose. Of everything I told you, the single most powerful thing you can do is refuse to be quiet about it. Silence is exactly what lets this slide to the deadline. So do this. Send this to one person over 65 who has no idea this date exists. Your sister, your neighbor, the friend from church who lives and dies by that check. They deserve the same heads up you just got. This isn't the kind of thing you keep to yourself. If this helped you see something nobody bothered to explain, do me a favor and hit like. It genuinely helps get it in front of more seniors who need it. And subscribe to from the first time it because I dig into exactly this kind of thing. The stuff about your money that the official folks would rather you didn't understand. And I put it in plain English. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. How much of your monthly income actually comes from Social Security? Is it a little, half, or pretty much all of it? Be honest, because that answer tells you exactly how hard this would hit your house, and it tells me what to cover next. And if you want, I'll put together a simple one-page checklist, the exact steps to prepare for this, and the script for the call to your representative, free. Say checklist in the comments and I'll know to make it. The people who come through this okay won't be the lucky ones. They'll be the ones who saw the date coming while everyone else was told to look away. Now you're one of them. From all of us here at Take Care of Yourself and Take Care of Your Money.